And a good Monday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on another week of Mac-File shows. We're just running a little late tonight. We had some video that we needed to download, and man, what a weekend. I wish it was a better weekend to report, but man, I tell you what, we have had just some horrible, horrible things going on in our country over the last few weeks, and this weekend was no different. We're going to talk about this terrorist attack in Colorado. Thankfully, nobody got killed, but 8 people have been injured, and how the media is handling it. I've always said that the fallout from these things is usually worse than the events themselves, because we live in a world tonight that does not understand, as James Akers wonderfully said, I think last week. He'll be with us tomorrow night. He may be with us tonight if we get the phone to work. He said it beautifully last week, and he said that the West does not understand this dance with the Middle East, and we don't. And I don't know why it is that our media here in America is so bent from below to convince the world that Islam is a peaceful religion, and whenever there's an Islamic terrorist attack, they never identify the assailant as Middle Eastern or Islamic. MSNBC today, and before I say anything, let me just sort of bring you up to snuff. We'll show you the story. We've got a few videos to play about it. But there was a man, Mohammed Solomon. He's an Egyptian. He was here illegally. Came in on Biden's program. Illegal immigration influx in 22. Came on a work visa. He applied for special status in 22 and 23. Got a work permit for a couple of years. That permit expired in March of this year. He did not deport. He did not go back. He stayed here. And he went absolutely berserk Sunday evening in Boulder, Colorado, and started flame torching people. And he threw 14 Molotov cocktails into a crowd. 8 people were injured, including a Holocaust survivor. And it was not just any crowd. This was a targeted attack, anti-Semitic attack. It was a group of people that were marching to free and bring attention to the 58 Israeli hostages that have not been freed. There was no question about what he was trying to do. He was running around with his shirt off, saying, "I am not going to rest till we kill every Zionist." He basically was using profanity, and then, of course, the famous "Free Palestine, Free Palestine, Free Palestine" chant that all these Islamic nuts are saying, not even realizing what they're saying. Maybe they do realize what they say. Maybe that's scarier. But regardless of what he was saying, the act of crime was a terrorist act, and it's a hate crime. And the feds have gotten involved tonight, and he's been officially charged, hopefully with a hate crime. He needs to be, but he needs to be charged federally with an act of terrorism, and he needs to be dealt with as such. And I know that a lot of people on Fox this morning, they had a lot of people. There was a lot of Jewish guests. We tried to, Ruth Gudenheim is going to be unavailable to us, I'm afraid, this week and for the next few weeks. I would have loved to have got her take on this, but maybe we can get Gideon, Ariel, and maybe Ruth Landy to come back on. We're trying our best. Our guests are, they've just gotten, some of them gotten so famous, it's hard to get them like we used to get them. Used to pick up the phone and call them, they come right on. Now it's a little harder. And it's okay. And, you know, some of them, I think some of them don't want to come on because it's the Mac Files. God knows what they've heard about the Mac Files. And it's wonderful cowboy hat wearing host. But that's all right. You know, we're good. We're good about that. But anyway, we're going to try to get some folks on to talk about this week. It's really going to be the story we're going to be covering. And also tonight, I'm going to deal with something that's going to be a little sensitive. And if you got little kids around the television or around the video tonight, I'd probably advise you later on not to have them around the video, because McDonald is going to have a few choice words about Sesame Street tonight, and is not going to be kind. You've basically got a television program that is geared to toddlers grooming your kids. And they are grooming them for the LGBTQ community. And what they did today and what they've been doing this week has been absolutely bizarre. Folks, I personally, look, we've always said this, and I know that yesterday was the quote-unquote unofficial, official start to Pride Month. And we're going to talk about that tonight a little bit. Very interesting thing in Jerusalem tonight, yesterday evening at sundown, started what the Jewish community calls Shavuot, which is Pentecost. It's the Feast of Weeks. they offered the wave offering, and on a Sunday morning program and a Sunday night program, we're going to have one of our messages called the Feast of Pentecost this month, and we will talk about this. And but it was the first sacrifice, even though it wasn't an animal. But there were Jewish people that stood on the Temple Mount tonight and offered the wave offering, making it the first sacrifice that Jews have offered on that Temple Mount in 2,000 years. Unreal. And it's prophetic. We'll probably talk about that this week. We may deal with that Wednesday night a little bit more than we do tonight. Wednesday's our faith show. But that definitely caught my attention tonight. And it should catch yours. Folks, we're living in prophetic times. We're living in dark times. We're living in dangerous times. We are living in unsettled times, troublesome times. All those words are used in Scripture. And Paul said in the last days that perilous times will come. Perilous means dangerous. Daniel talks about that Israel in the last days will go through a troublesome time, literally, that Michael will stand up during the troublesome days. It really speaks of something yet future, literally. But the spirit of what's going on tonight, folks, is without a doubt troublesome. It's troublesome for our country. We've got Mike Huckabee coming up here in a minute. He's got some comments about the Palestinian state. So we're gonna talk a lot about tonight. Now listen, we're gonna talk for about 45 minutes. We will give you a chance to speak. I don't mind you affirming, but if you're going to say something in my chat, please keep it on topic, okay? And don't be putting links. And we don't allow links. And I don't need you to host the show. Let me host the show. You got something to say it at the end. Ask a question at the end. I'll be more than happy to take your question and your thoughts. This is Monday Night Smack with the Mac, and he's in a Mac Smack mood tonight. And honestly, I know a lot of people think I'm just but a butthole, and that's all right. I'm not. Trust me, I am the sweetest, nicest individual you will ever meet. Trust me, I mean that. I mean,
I meant you, my dear Watson.
What kind of guy would dress up in a green bowler hat and say this if he wasn't a nice guy? It's just elementary, my dear Watson. So I'm a real fun guy, but just respect the guest out there if you don't mind. Tonight we're grateful to have everybody in the house, and good grief. Oh, we've already got a pretty good crowd coming in, and it's going to get good tonight. It's going to get good. All right, now I want to talk first of all tonight. Bill Clinton, Leslie Midway. I sent this to her tonight, and I'm sure she's laughing about this. We should have got Leslie on tonight. But I like Monday nights to myself. I've been getting to like Monday nights to myself because I get to run my mouth. I don't get to do that much, usually, just me. So this is sort of my let's get the week started off with a bang night. And Bill Clinton was on the talk show circuit. And I don't know if he's gotten a wig or somebody told him he was losing his hair, but he looked like some hippie out of some bad 1970s B movie at a drive-in. But he was trying to defend Joe Biden over the weekend. I'm going to play you the tape. Viva Bill Clinton. Yeah, that Bill Clinton in the blue dress in Epstein Island. Yes, that Bill Clinton, the Monica Lewinsky Bill Clinton. That Bill Clinton. Roll tape.
Now more of Tracy Smith's conversation with former President Bill Clinton.
So last time we spoke was November. And in December, you had a health scare that landed you in the hospital.
Yeah, it turned out to be no big deal, but it was, I basically kind of lost my balance, and I knew I was sick, and I went to the hospital and checked in.
What Bill Clinton is trying to say to you is Hillary beat the living blank out of him, and he's too ashamed to tell you that Hillary beat him anyway. That's just my 2 cents. Roll the tape.
I said I was severely dehydrated, and I got great care, and I left the next day.
And how's your health now?
As far as I know, it's great. But when you're older...
But I sleep with one eye open at night.
You have to be more careful to stay hydrated.
You got to stay more healthy to stay hidden from Hillary.
Speaking of aging, there's this book that came out that talks about Joe Biden and the people around him seeing that he had cognitive and physical decline. Did you ever have a moment with him where you thought maybe he was unfit to run for president? No.
I thought he was a good president. The only concern I thought he had to deal with was, could anybody do that job until they were 86?
Good grief. He's a good president, Bill? What are you comparing him to? The janitor at Motel 6?
And we'd had several long talks. I had never seen him and walked away thinking he can't do this anymore. He was always on top of his brief.
I bet he was.
You never saw any cognitive
No.
decline?
He's basically calling Jake Tapper and the media liars. Way to go, Bill.
So I didn't know anything about any of this, and I haven't read the book. I saw President Biden not very long ago, and I thought he was in good shape. But the book didn't register with me because I never saw him that way.
What?
And that's the same Bill Clinton that said I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Did you read the book?
I didn't want to because he's not president anymore, and I think he did a good job, and I think we are facing challenges today without precedent in our history. And some people are trying to use this as a way to blame him for the fact that Trump was reelected.
Bill, have you lost your natural born mind? He was the reason Trump got reelected, dude. But anyway, I can't play no more of that. Goodness gracious. Now, that's Bill Clinton for you. I'll just leave that alone for now, and you can make your call. Good Lord have mercy. Oh, Lord have mercy, 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 mercy. Now, more important story tonight. Mike Huckabee has made the news, and he should make the news. I want to come back over here to my screen before I read this and explain what I'm about to read to you tonight. Over the weekend, about 24 hours before the terrorist attack, the New York Times, CNN, the Washington Post put an article out that was what I consider blood libel. And there's a lot of that going on, accusing Israel of what the whole world is doing, what many Christians accuse Israel of doing, what many anti-Semites accuse Israel of doing, what many podcasters accuse, many well-known podcasters, Candace Owen, Tucker Carlson. And then there are some that are just in-your-face anti-Semites like Stu Peters. I mean, man, he's in your face. He don't hide it. But they accuse Israel of genocide. They accuse Israel of a lot of things. Well, they accused Israel Saturday night of shooting people that were trying to get the food out at one of these humanitarian posts in Gaza. They literally put in their article that the IDF started firing on the people of Gaza and also firing on the humanitarian workers that were trying to feed the people. In other words, painting a picture that Israel was trying to hinder aid getting into the Gaza Strip. And that's been the lie for really since October the 7th, folks. It's been nothing but lies since October the 7th. And Mike Huckabee saw the article. Mike Huckabee, as our ambassador over there, has been in charge of a lot of this, and he vehemently disagreed and said that was nothing but a false lie. It was falsehood, and he demanded an apology. He's not going to get it, sadly. He should sue him. The government of America, Trump should sue, Israel should sue the New York Times, the Washington Post. They should. Bibi Netanyahu should sue them. But what it did, folks, it stirred the pot. And Huckabee, in this op-ed, and then in his letter to the Washington Post, the New York Times, and CNN, basically said to them, you are the reason this man went out and did what he did Sunday night. 24 hours after that article came out, the terrorist attack hit in Colorado. And again, folks, it was not just any terrorist attack. It was not just some random nightclub or random event. This man had targeted this event that was a march, basically, for the Israeli hostages to be released. He was targeting Jews. He was targeting Jews. Let me just do this, if you don't mind. I'm in one of these Monday night moods. Let me do this, since I've got my color crown. You see that right there? Jews, for all you anti-Semites. You understand that? That's who he was targeting. He was not targeting Americans. He was not targeting Arabs. He was not targeting Europeans. He was not targeting any other group but Jews. That's who he was targeting. And Huckabee believes, and the Mac Man does too tonight, that the sentiment to stir this crap up, it's not the only article that's been out there like this. But I'm going to tell you something, it pretty much tipped this guy over. So he said, hey, it's cool to go burn people with flamethrowers and throw 14 Molotov cocktails into this parade. And maybe we can burn some people to death. So I'm going to read you this article. So I wanted to put that in perspective, what I'm about to read to you. And it says this, that Huckabee demands the New York Times, CNN, AP retract fake news on Gaza aid deaths. U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee demanded Monday that the New York Times, CNN, and the Associated Press, among others, retract false reporting that Israeli soldiers killed Palestinian civilians at an American aid site in Gaza. Huckabee linked the fake news published by these outlets directly to the anti-Semitic terrorist attack Sunday in Boulder, Colorado, where an illegal alien shouting pro-Palestinian slogans set Jewish protesters on fire. Thank God no one was killed as of yet, but some of them were very seriously injured. Breitbart reported Hamas had claimed falsely that Israeli soldiers had killed dozens of Palestinian civilians near an aid site run by the Trump administration-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Hamas, which regularly lies about casualty figures through its Gaza Health Ministry, has a particularly strong incentive to discredit the GHF, which gives aid directly to Palestinians and without charging them. Until now, the United Nations has controlled aid deliveries in Gaza, which has in turn allowed Hamas to steal and siphon off the aid, selling it to Palestinian civilians for profit and cementing its political control. But none of the media talks about that. In fact, let me come back over here real quick. In fact, it was this very same thing that Cindy McCain, and I think we did that story last week, maybe a week ago tonight. Cindy McCain, yes, that Cindy McCain of the late John McCain, went on CBS, gave interviews to The Independent, gave interviews to Al Jazeera, other news outlets in the world, accusing Israel of lying about that very thing. Israel's been saying that for years, ever since this October the 7th event. They've been telling the world that the UN's been doing this. They've been telling people that Hamas has been doing this. And it goes in one ear and out the other. And Israel's the one that's accused of the genocide. Israel's accused of stealing the food. And now they were accused of shooting dozens of Palestinian civilians who were just a bunch of hungry Palestinians. So you put that picture in your mind. You got these crazed lunatics. By the way, this guy was dancing half naked under a transgender flag, if you saw the video. You get these crazed lunatics that hate Israel, and he's an Egyptian. MSNBC, while I'm at it, since we're doing it in crayon tonight, the man that did the shooting was an Egyptian. He's not a white man. Chris is a white man. I'm not an Egyptian. The man that did the blowtorching and the man that was trying to throw Molotov cocktails into a parade for Jewish hostages was an Egyptian. If I need to do it in crayon, I'll do it for you. in a different color, since you don't know what the color of people's skins are. So, Cindy McCain set the fuse to this a week ago by accusing Israel of libel and lying. This goes further. This is nothing but blood libel. Benjamin Netanyahu condemned this article Saturday night, and without knowing what was going to happen Sunday, Huckabee was already out there warning them to retract this story. They would not do it. And now he's demanding an apology. That ain't going to happen. But I'm going to keep reading this article. It says, until now, the United Nations has had control when Hamas made its sensational claim of mass murder on Sunday. Mainstream media outlets in the West, which operate presumably without fear of censorship, simply repeated it without verifying it. They later updated their headlines to retreat from their mistake without admitting what they had done. CNN originally ran the headline, at least 26 Palestinians killed after Israeli forces opened fire near Gaza, a distribution center. Is that right there? Let me see if I can lock that in for you so I can highlight it with our highlighter. Right here, I'm going to highlight that right there. There's the headline right there. At least 26 Palestinians killed after Israeli forces opened fire near Gaza, aid distribution center. Health workers say that was their headline. And then it was later changed. I want you to see how the media is. To dozens shot dead and injured near Gaza aid hub, health ministry and doctors say. They didn't say that it wasn't Israeli forces that did it. They didn't correct that part. The BBC initially reported, quote, 31 dead after Israeli tanks opened fire near Gaza aid center. Hamas Health Ministry says. That headline, too, was later changed to Israel denies firing at civilians after Hamas-run ministry says 31 killed in Gaza aid center. They never admit that they had no verification this was even true. Some outlets persisted in publishing the false story, notably the Washington Post with Jeff Bezos, repeated claims by the Hamas-run health ministry despite the evidence and despite that ministry's history of deception. There's Bill Ackman, and he says, Jeff Bezos, this false story was debunked hours ago. How can the Washington Post report it as true? This is worthy of an internal investigation. Good luck on that, Bill. Good grief. And there's their headline, basically the same as the BBC's. At least 31 were killed Sunday morning in southern Gaza, according to the Strip's health ministry, when Israeli troops opened fire on crowds making their way to collect aid. Making their way to collect aid. That's what the media does. It lies. In a statement issued by the U.S. Embassy in Israel, Ambassador Mike Huckabee demanded formal retractions, which he has not gotten as of tonight. I'm just going to read you his statement. Reckless and irresponsible reporting by U.S. major news outlets are contributing to the anti-Semitic climate that has resulted in the number and the murder of 2 young people at an Israeli embassy event in Washington last month, and the attempted murder and terror attack on a group of pro-Israel demonstrations in Colorado on Sunday. Without verification of any source other than Hamas and its collaborators, the New York Times, CNN, Associated Press reported that a number of people seeking to receive humanitarian food boxes from the Gaza Humanitarian Fund were shot or killed by the Israeli Defense Forces. Let me highlight this for you right here. These reports were false. Let me come back over here to my screen. I'm sorry, I keep hitting the wrong screen there. Let me use my crown again. And this is for all you people pushing that, and those that have shared it on your Telegram rooms as fact, and X accounts as fact, and you've gotten on radio programs and confirmed that Israel's shooting at civilians. I told you Israel's evil. They're the evil of all the world. Huckabee just said that story is false. False. If you need me to get a dictionary out and let me define that for you, I will tonight. Folks, I'm not trying to be a smart aleck. But this is what Israel's up against, and it's a shame and disgrace that Christian believers are pushing this narrative. They are pushing these lies. So-called prophets are pushing these lies. So-called preachers and pastors and teachers are pushing these lies. Authors of Christian books, and they're not Christian, they're New Age mysticism books, are pushing these lies. I expect it out of the media. I expect it out of MSNBC. I expect it out of the Washington Post. I expect it out of CNN. I expect it out of the Associated Press, and the three letters of the Associated Press is what they're a bunch of. I expect it out of them. I don't expect it out of people that claim they have faith, that buy into this without proof. Without proof. Let me read on. I'm not done. Not even by a long shot. Drone video and first-hand accounts clearly showed that there were no injuries, no fatalities, no shooting, and no chaos. Folks, bottom line that, let me bottom line that for you. None of that was true. Not one bit of it. There wasn't 31 people that got shot. There wasn't any shooting. Nobody got denied food. There was no chaos there. Nobody was hindered from getting food from the Israelis. That story was a complete fabricated lie. You saw how the media reported it, but they didn't correct it. They never came out and said, hey, we got it wrong. There was none of this. It takes Huckabee to have to get on and demand an apology. And I can tell you right now, you can hold your nose on this one. They're not gonna apologize. They're not gonna change that headline. They could have changed it Saturday night or into Sunday morning. It was already Sunday morning Israel time when all this was going on. Let me keep reading. It is Hamas that continues to terrorize and intimidate those who seek food aid. The only source for these misleading, exaggerated, and utterly fabricated stories, Huckabee's a lot more diplomatic than I'd have been, came from Hamas sources which are designated and designed to fan the flames of anti-Semitic hate that is arguably contributing to violence against Jews in the United States. Folks, can I tell you something tonight? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Instead of me going back and forth, let me just bring my camera on. Probably be easier to do it up here. That way I can talk to you up here as I'm reading this. Can I tell you something tonight, folks? Listen to me. Do you realize it's getting more dangerous for the Jews to stay in America than it is even Europe? Do you realize that they're under more of a threat tonight in the good old U.S. of A. than they would probably be in some Arab countries? It's not like they're welcome in Arab countries, but there are some Arab countries that maybe would let the Jews live in peace if they were there. They're under a walking death sentence right now in this country right now, on these college campuses, in our streets. I mean, folks, this thing is taking over, this spirit of hate, this spirit of anti-Semitism, and we have been screaming and screaming and screaming. I tell you what, you don't have to agree with what I'm saying, but I will tell you what, I'll lay my head down at night with a clean conscience that I have tried to warn you. I have tried to tell you this is happening. I have tried to give you the truth about what's happening. I have done my dead level best to offset this anti-Semitic hate that's out there on this program. We have caught hell for it. People have left. People have cut their financial support off because of it. People have said that we're not telling the truth about it, without any proof that they're telling the truth about it, without any proof that Israel's doing any of this. We've been told, he's digging down. Let me tell you, I'm going to dig down all right. You're digging a hole to hell, friend. You're digging your own hole to hell, pushing this narrative. You're digging a hole yourself. No, I'm on pretty solid ground. Let me change that. I'm on very solid ground, what we're doing. Do you realize how dangerous it is tonight, folks, to be a Jew in America? I would never dream in 10 million years I would utter those words in my lifetime, that we have made it as unsafe to be a Jewish person in this country. And by the fan and the flames of this anti-Semitic hate and lies, it's not just hate, it's libel. We call it blood libel in this business. In other words, the libel and the lying leads to bloodshed, just like it did last night. Let me read on. I'm quoting Huckabee here. Media sources who willingly parrot, and that's what they are. That's what a lot of these jackanapes are doing on the internet. They don't have no proof. They just parrot what somebody else says, and they piggyback off of somebody's X account, or piggyback off of somebody's video, or piggyback off some Telegram room that's full of the devil. They piggyback off of some network that's full of the devil. They piggyback off some prophet that is full of the devil. And they parrot. They don't have an original bone in their body, but all they do is parrot. And you say, McDonald, you're a little wired up tonight. It's Monday night smack with the Mac for a reason, neighbor. You doggone right I'm upset. I'm angry because, see, that event last night could have killed people. People could have died. Children were targeted, neighbor. Children. All because they were Jews. Not for any other reason. Not because they were soldiers. This wasn't some battlefield issue. They were targeted again simply because this Egyptian illegal alien hated Jews. He's got a lot of great company in the church these days. He fit right in most American churches. Media sources who willingly parrot these libelous allegations should recant their fake news stories, apologize, they're not, and pledge to practice actual reporting of fact instead of engaging in dangerous propaganda, they won't. That assists the terror group Hamas as they continue to hold innocent hostages, now 58 still. These hostages have been held for over 600 days, folks. Do you realize that they butchered 1,200 people on October the 7th, and 600 days later they're still holding 60 people almost who've not seen their families, and that's going on close to 2 years now. It's unreal. The efforts of GHF have resulted in over 5 million meals to civilians without incident. 5 million meals, folks. No incident. So we're to believe that Saturday night, all of a sudden, after 5 million meals have been delivered, that Israel's going to get up Saturday morning and say, hey, IDF, go out there and shoot some folks. That's what we're supposed to believe. That's what we're supposed to believe by these anti-Semitic fools that are on the internet and on radio shows running their traps, when they would be wise to take a proverb that a fool uses a multitude of words. It's better for you to keep your mouth shut. A fool would be wise to keep his mouth shut than to open it and prove that he or she is a fool. 5 million meals without an incident. But according to the media Saturday night, Israel just got up and said, hey, we're going to go shoot some Palestinians. This is a Hamas-fed false narrative, and it is reprehensible, folks. There's another word for it I'd like to use, but we're trying to be somewhat of a decorum family show tonight. It represents more than sloppy journalism. It's feeding and inciting violence against people in the United States. We are demanding an immediate retraction of the lies and are appealing to all media sources to act with objective professionalism. Good luck with that. To actually cover events instead of being a tool and a pawn and a partner of terrorism, following Hamas's news releases blindly without checking on what they're reporting. A source at GFF told Breitbart News Sunday that contrary to the fake news reports, the distribution of aid has been peaceful. Photos emerged Monday of grateful Palestinians smiling at GFF aid workers. And that's the story that was written by Joel Pollack. By the way, I'm going to come over here and I want to come over to our video screen and let's see here where we're at. This is where I want to come right here. We had Ricky last week. I'll come, hang on just a second. Wrong. Let me do this. We had Ricky last Monday night. It's me tonight. Let me put our camera back up here. As I said, folks, I'm just getting started tonight. I hope you're in for the long haul. We're going to keep you here for a little bit. We're in good shape time-wise. Great shape time-wise. I want you to look at this, folks. This is video of who the real perpetrator is. This is a video. What you're about to see here is basically Gazans being shot at, yes. But guess who's doing the shooting? What you're about to see, if I can find that video, I thought I had it downloaded. Here it is right here. This is Hamas shooting last week, just the day before this article came out, by the way. See, there's been no reporting of this in the media. I've not heard one story that Hamas is doing the shooting, and the Gazans are rebelling against Hamas. They're smiling at America. They're thanking President Trump. They were screaming his name here just a couple of days ago. But it's no sound. But you see that? The people running? They're running because the gunmen are firing at civilians that are trying. There he is right there. You see that right there? Let me stop it right there. Do you see that right there? That's a Hamas terrorist firing at civilians. That's not an IDF soldier, folks. That's not an IDF soldier. Let me, hang on just a second. I'm just in one of my color crown moods tonight. Let me get a piece of paper here if you don't mind. I need to get a coloring sheet here. Let me put this in perspective for that person, who that is. That person is Hamas. You see that right there? He's not the IDF. Hamas. Do I need to explain what Hamas is? If I do, I'll be more than happy to. Hamas are what we call terrorists. That's what we call terrorists. That's not the IDF shooting at civilians. That's Hamas terrorists shooting at civilians. Look at him. Look at him. And look at the guy on the ground. Look at there. Look at there. And the people are running. They're trying to get food, folks. There's more shots being fired. That's what's going on in the Gaza Strip tonight. And that video you will not see on hardly anybody's timeline. These same people that shared that libel story out, that blood libel, they won't post that video. They wouldn't dare post it. Because it would destroy half of their channels. It would destroy their networks. It would destroy the credibility of what they're saying. Not that they ain't already been destroyed. But I'm doing this tonight for you, because you are a wise audience beyond your years. You've got friends that are saying this to you. I know you do. You've got friends that send you anti-Semitic stuff every day that tells you Israel's the devil. Israel is 666. Israel's killing people. Israel's killing children. Israel's drinking the blood of children. We had, and Cynthia, I don't know if you're out there tonight on Facebook. It was my fault last night. I know I got your message about, she said the Hindus hated Christians and they're attacking Christians. The Hindus are. But there is libelous talk out there that the Jews hate Christians. And the Jews are attacking. CBN, the late Pat Robertson's network, was out there pushing this narrative just last week that Christians are experiencing more Jews spitting at them. No proof, mind you, just word on the street. You can listen to the news story. Even they said, it's just rumors and things that we're hearing on the street. No proof of it. Just throwing it out there like cotton candy on a turd wall. Folks, you better be, I can tell you this. I don't have a Jewish friend that I know that hates Christians. And I don't know what they're getting this from. I know this much. The Jews right now probably can use all the Christians they can get. They need all the friends they can get right now. Do you realize they're fighting wars on 7 fronts? Do you realize that? 7 different fronts. They're trying to fight for their survival tonight, folks, and that's going to get worse. If you're with us in our morning Bible studies, we're talking about this very thing. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. So, I'm helping you understand this in color crown tonight. I'm not meaning this to be offensive or being smart to you all that are here tonight, because I'm glad you're here. But some of you are getting bombarded with this stuff from your friends, so-called friends. Because you tell me you are. Some of you are hearing this from relatives, and you're hearing this from people that are ignorant. They're spiritually ignorant, they're politically ignorant, and they're just foolishly false, and might as well just go ahead and say it, they're just full of the devil. They're full of this, and they're no different than these Hamas people, this Egyptian illegal last night that was going to blowtorch people to death. This anti-Semitic spirit that has erupted in America, folks, to me, it's no different. It's the same hate. Same hate. But what makes it worse is that people that supposedly claim they know Jesus do it. And to me, that's an oxymoron. There's no way you can. You can't have both. There's no way you can be both. You can't love Jesus and hate the Jews. Just can't. You can't really hate anybody, to be frank with you. But to hate the group that he comes from after the flesh is a level of stupid and foolish ignorance I can't even put into words. I could probably draw it in crayon for you again if you'd like me to. I'm doing this to help you stay armed and to tell people the truth as to what's happening over there. Because I know some of you, probably not even some, a lot of you are getting bombarded with this stuff from your friends. I'm just curious. I may take a poll tonight. I'm thinking about doing a poll right now. In fact, I'm going to start a poll. I'm going to just say it like this. Have you had, or do you have somebody, do you know somebody that believes Israel is killing the kids of Gaza? And I'll just put starvation. Hang on just a second. And that's just a simple yes or no question. I should probably put it in our Telegram room. We got a few knuckleheads that come in there and just do things to be contrary. I'll let you answer that. All right. So, this is to help you be armed. Now, the shooter himself. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Here is the press conference from last night, and this will explain what happened in Colorado just less than 24 hours when that article came out in CNN, BBC, Associated Press, Washington Post, other crap news networks. Roll the tape.
I'm able to confirm there are 6 victims, ages 67 to 88. All of them have been transported.
67 to 88. There were children in the crowd. Thank God they were not hurt, but there were children in that march. The victims themselves were between the ages of 66 and 70. These were older people, folks, that got hurt last night.
Hospitals. This attack happened at a regularly scheduled weekly peaceful event. Witnesses are reporting that the subject used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device into the crowd. The suspect was heard to yell, "Free Palestine," during the attack. The subject has been identified as Mohammed Sabri Solomon, and he's 45 years old. The FBI is processing the crime scene and the subject vehicle and interviewing key witnesses. We're assisting Boulder Police in providing technical, analytic, and additional forensic resources. As a result of these preliminary facts, it is clear that this is a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism.
They are investigating it as an act of terrorism. They are absolutely... Thank you. Just put yes or no in the house. Thank you there in Facebook tonight. Cleo, thank you. Whoever put that in there. I can't... tell, but Kathy, whoever it is, thank you for putting that poll up. I want to just say this, folks. Again, that's what happened last night. And then I want you to listen now. I want you to listen to this MSNBC crap. They can't even call the man Egyptian. They can't even call him Egyptian.
Yeah, so the way it all happened was, at the time I was eating lunch with my wife, my 4 and 2-year-old, and then my...
Actually, this is an eyewitness. This ain't the video, but this is MSNBC.
Teenage niece and nephew who were visiting from Florida, and they again, like the recessional or whatever you want to call it, just had passed us, and then just about 5 to 10 minutes later, there was a woman who was running by us, saying that there was a man that was throwing fire at people. And I'm familiar with the event. I'm Jewish myself. I've never attended any one of these events that happen all across the country, just simply due to the fear of something like this actually happening. But I'm very well familiar with how they run and all the people around them and and all that kind of stuff. So my immediate thought was to kind of just jump the fence and go see if there's anything I could do, or see if there's anything I could do to help or anything like that. And so I left my one toddler that was with us at the time with my niece and nephew, ran there. I went up to the courthouse where they typically are. There's another man that approached with me. He started immediately trying to de-escalate the situation with the guy, and trying to talk to him as the guy was yelling at the crowd of people. There's a bunch of people kind of just sitting there outside the square watching, and then obviously like the 20 to 25 people that were in the march, in the walk, I should say, that were either on the ground or tending to other people who were burned. And then so that guy was talking to them. He was yelling at the people saying, "F you Zionist."
F you Zionist.
You're killing all my people.
You're killing all my people.
And then other things that he kind of spewed from time to time throughout the rest of the time that we were...
Free Palestine. The guy didn't get that right. It's Free Palestine. I'll help him there.
But as the other guy was kind of de-escalating everything, I wanted to make sure I got this guy on camera.
And that's a first-hand term. I don't want to play the whole 7-minute video, but I want you to, I think at the end of this is where they try to say this last 40 seconds. This is where MSNBC, I think, identifies him as a white man.
Somebody else had mentioned earlier that he was posing as someone who was like a gardener or something, and he was lighting people on fire while spraying gasoline on them, because that's what gasoline is what it smelled like. I thought it initially was alcohol. But I assumed it was gasoline, which again singed the pants off of some of these other women, and the shirt off of one of the women that I can't really, frankly, I can't imagine. I hope she survives, but I didn't see her like move the entire time I was there. Confirm some video. Yeah, I mean that's basically it.
Ryan, what you describe is graphic. It is horrifying.
All right, now, it is graphic and it's horrifying. All right, I want you to give me 1 second here. It won't take me but a second to download this video. Right after that clip, okay, right after that clip, MSNBC comes back and they get a panel together and they're talking about it, and you're going to see the victims, you're going to see the man right here in a minute. And this is them talking about the victim, the terrorist, and what did I do with that clip? Right here. This is how they described the man that did that.
As far as the investigation itself, we're still trying to verify and confirm some video, but it appears to show a significant portion of the incident as it happened. There's an individual that's taken into custody. He's a white male. Whether or not that's the person that...
He is a white male. Folks, I'm just an old white cracker from Georgia. Just an old southern redneck. I'm just an old southern redneck. Does that man look like a white guy to you? Just asking for a friend? Does he strike you as maybe being Middle Eastern? I'm not an expert in culture, but I'd have probably guessed Palestinian, and I probably would have had Egypt in my top 3 list of nationalities without even knowing. I'm not trying to stereotype people, but he looks just like most Egyptians look. But MSNBC does not want you, these left-wing media folks, they do not want you to know that this was Islamic terror. They want to debunk that. They've already been debunking it all day today. These are the enemies of America. By the way, you probably didn't hear about this. We're trying to track the story down. There was a Michigan Muslim yesterday, May 30th. It was Friday, actually. He pled guilty. You know what he pled guilty for? He pled guilty to a plot because he was going to go kill a bunch of Jewish preschoolers at a daycare center. That's Pamela Geller. She's a very respectable journalist, and she wouldn't post it if it wasn't true. I know Pam. And it was a daycare center. It was near the Michigan area, near Detroit. He had targeted, and look at his guns. You see those guns? That wasn't for hunting elk and deer in Michigan. No, that was for killing kids. And not just any kids. He was going to find a Jewish preschool at a daycare at a synagogue. He was planning to shoot it up. And they arrested him before he could get to what he wanted to do. He wanted to destroy Jewish people. Here is the video I was looking for. This is the gentleman. Roll the tape. Actually, it's not a tape. It's the picture of him. There he is right there. Benny Johnson posted this. He said, this is the perfect snapshot of what the modern Democrat Party stands for. Criminal alien, Muslim terrorist, burning innocent Americans alive for their free speech and under a transgender flag. And by the way, another judge tonight said, we can't deport people like this. They told Trump, said, you ain't got a right to deport them under the Alien Enemies Act. More of this is going to keep happening. A lot of this is going to keep happening. I want to just say this. I thought I had a live video of him, but I don't. I thought I did, but I don't. Well, I'll say it like this. I'm going to say it like this, folks. I don't know. I'm not in this man's head. I don't know if that article that Huckabee is upset about was what tipped him up, but the timing on it is pretty intriguing to me. That within 24 hours, you had a crazed Egyptian try to blowtorch a bunch of people in Boulder, Colorado that were Jews. Just within hours. It's a given. He had hate in his heart long before that article was written. But folks, the temperature and all these libels and all these stories just keep adding fuel to this fire. Every time something like this gets published and said, it just adds fuel to the fire. And we've got a generation of young people. We got a generation of young people that believe it. You know, I talked to Magdalene about this, and we're going to have Magdalene on this week. Such a precious kid. And her age group, there is a growing number of them that believe this blood libel. They believe it. They don't take the time to check whether it's true. They just accept what their mentors and the adults over them are saying is truth. They don't check it. And it's gotten into their head that Israel is the grand enemy of all humanity and all mankind. There was a video I saw today, a man, and the shirt wasn't the nicest. It had an expletive on it, and it said something Hamas. And this kid gets in his face, and he said, you must be really mentally deranged to hate a group called Hamas. He was saying, you must be deranged to hate Hamas. He said, they're a humanitarian, and they're doing everything they can for the Gazan people. Kid probably didn't look to be no more than 20. The man was probably in his 30s, 30 or 40. That's what we're dealing with. And this is why the Dems have got problems tonight. Here's Huckabee with his view of the Palestinian state. I'm just going to play this. I've got something to say about it. Roll tape.
When I heard that the French were trying to spearhead this effort to get a meeting together with the United Nations, the purpose of which supposedly is to recognize a Palestinian state. First of all, it's incredibly inappropriate in the midst of a war that Israel is dealing with to go out and present something that I think increasingly Israelis are steadfast against. October 7th changed a lot of things. If France is really so determined to see a Palestinian state, I've got a suggestion for them. Carve out a piece of the French Riviera and create a Palestinian state. They're welcome to do that.
Oh my goodness.
They're not welcome to impose that kind of pressure on a sovereign nation. And I find it revolting that they think that they have the right to do such a thing.
Way to go, Mike Huckabee.
But the United States will not participate. Simply will not be a part of such a ruse.
Way to go, Mike Huckabee. That is even worth me coming over here. That is even worth me coming over here. That's even, Jenny Casanova, this is worth.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
That is worth it. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? All these countries screaming for a Palestinian state. Well, I tell you what, why don't you take these Palestinians into your state? You got all this real estate. You got all this land. I like what Huckabee's idea is. Let the French do the French Riviera. I bet them Palestinians just love that area. You want to know what the world would act like if that happened? Let me give you a little history lesson, little object lesson. Y'all remember a couple of years ago, it was right, I think at the beginning, it was Obama's time, the Obamas were gone. They were living there. It was right at the beginning of the Biden administration. And Abbott and I think DeSantis was doing it too. They were shipping their illegals to Martha's Vineyard. And these entitled, pompous rich, you know what? I mean, they went ballistic. And they were screaming. And they were running for the hills. I mean, it wasn't but a few hundred of them that Abbott sent up there, and you thought the world would have ended. You see, this is what Israel is up against. The world doesn't want the responsibility of the Palestinians. They believe that's Israel's issue. And then they'll criticize Israel for how they handle the Palestinians. By the way, folks, just another reminder tonight, Israel's the only country that I know that feeds her enemies and helps her enemies that are trying to kill her the way she does. I applaud what President Trump is doing, but you need to understand, Bibi Netanyahu's been trying to do this from the start. It's not like Bibi has not been doing it already. He's just not been getting credit for it, and the media is lying and blood libeling him. By the way, I'm going to tell you again, folks, if you're out there sharing this lies and you're sharing libel, it's just like somebody slandering somebody else and lying about somebody else. And you hobnubbing with the liar and you hobnubbing with the slanderer, you're just as guilty as the slanderer. You're just as guilty. You're culpable in it. And the world that is sharing these lies, they're just as culpable as the Hamas terrorists perpetrating them. It's just as bad. It's just as bad. But Bibi's been trying to feed the Palestinians.
I met you, mighty Watson.
Most Palestinians will tell you they'd rather live under Israeli rule than Arab rule, because they know how the Israelis treat them. They treat them with respect, contrary to what the world says. Contrary to what the world says. All right. Now, I'm almost done with this, but you need to understand these are the facts. These are the things that we are up against. And I got to play one thing. It's sort of going to be a transition into what we're going to get to next at the end about Sesame Street tonight, because I'm not happy with Sesame Street by any stretch of the imagination. But I want to do a PSA. In the radio business, we have when we do our radio show every day, we go to the end of the half hour, we go an hour, and at the end of the half hour, we play what we call PSAs, public service announcements. So before I get into this next little segment tonight, I've got a PSA for all you that want to send your kids to Harvard. Now, there's a language alert. So all you kiddies out there, all you little kitty folks, close your ears. Just a one word or two, but I'm just warning you. There's a few words in here that may shock the sensitivity among you. But this is a PSA if you want to send your kid to Harvard. Roll the tape. This is what you get.
Ever wish your child was a full-blown liberal idiot, desperate to turn them into a Jew-hating extremist who'd rather burn a flag than think for themselves? Well, Harvard University has the answer. For the low, low price of $500,000, we'll transform your kid into the kind of zealot who sets bags of shit on fire in the street, screaming about whatever CNN's whining about today. Our elite program guarantees they'll swap reason for rage and facts for feelings, faster than you can say protest permit. But wait, there's more. Our tuition doesn't cover the essentials. Blue hair dye, nose piercings, and weak frosted body are sold separately. And don't forget parents, you'll be free plus financially supporting your adult child for the rest of their life, because they'll never become productive members of society. Why work when you can protest?
Results not guaranteed. Side effects include chronic virtue signaling, allergic reactions to logic, and an obsession with trending hashtags. Harvard University is not liable for arrests, property damage, or your kid's newfound hatred of you. Consult your bank account before enrolling.
It's elementary, my dear Watson. It's elementary, my dear Watson. That was a PSA, a public service announcement, courtesy of Hamas and the Harvard institution that wants to take $500,000 from you to educate your child. Now, speaking of children, I'm not going to get to everything I want to tonight, but I am going to get to this because while I am extremely upset about this blood libel that continues against Israel, and we're going to keep hammering this. I don't care how big a horse we beat. I don't care how people get tired of hearing it. You need to hear it, folks, because something's got to be done to offset this nonsense. Because it gets, every time I turn around, somebody else is pushing something out there that's nothing but lies, and I'm just flabbergasted at the church. I'm flabbergasted at the silence. By the way, I asked my Bible students this morning, and I'll ask them in the morning if they've seen any spiritual religious voice out there that has condemned what happened last night in Colorado. I'm waiting for a statement from any church. If you find that, please send it to my email. Send me the link. Send it to Mc-Sesame@gmail.com. If you see a religious leader of any, I don't care who they are, Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal, whatever, big name, mega church, whatever, that condemned last night's terrorist attack and condemned it for the reason they should condemn it, that it was an attack on Jews. Send it to me. And tomorrow night, if we don't have James on, we'll read it. We'll read it. But I want to deal with something tonight. It's going to be a little sensitive. And I want you to look at this right here before I play the video. You say, what is that? If you go to the Sesame Street X account, this is their profile picture today. As I told you, yesterday was the beginning of Pride Month. And I always have to say this before I start talking about this, because it's inevitable that somebody's out there going to say, well, you're judging people and you're condemning people and you're setting yourself up as a judge over people. And I am doing none of that at all, not even remotely close. I want to say this to the homosexual. We love you. We do. We care enough about your soul to tell you the truth. We care enough about you to tell you that any sin will send a man to hell, but this is one of the sins that will send you to hell if you don't repent of it. All unrepented sin will send mankind to a place called hell. It will. This is one of those sins. My issue with the homosexual community is this. This is a free country. God Himself gives you free will. You can choose to live whatever lifestyle that you want to live. Nobody can ultimately tell you how to live, what to do, where to live, who to live with, what to do with your life. You are the steward of your own life. You are the owner of your own life in the sense of choices and free will. You have a free will to do whatever you want to do. Where my issue comes in with this community is that they just don't do their thing in an adult forum. They don't have these conversations about their lifestyle and the perverseness of it and the debauchery of it among adults. They don't even do it. They're not at this point even going to the high schools anymore. No. Certainly not the colleges. Colleges have already gone totally rainbow. I got to say this, and I'll just say it. It's amazing to me that the only 2 months of the year, and I want you to think about this, and you black folks, I love you. We honor the blacks for one solid month in February, and we honor the lesbian and homosexual community in June. We honor these two groups. I mean, for God's sake, now we're given a day on June 14th. It's called Juneteenth Day, basically honoring the slaves that happened, 200 years ago now, almost. as if that's going to bring back the ghost and bring people to their knees and throw all the money to the black community and say, we're sorry for putting you in slaves, when we weren't the ones that put you in slaves. We're the ones that freed you from slavery. No, I don't know if you understand history or not, but the West African slave merchants brought you over here in chains. Abraham Lincoln, a Republican president, saw the evil of that. Even though the Dems didn't want that slavery to end, they fought to keep slavery in progress, but it was a Republican president that stood up and fought a civil war to free you from that bondage. It wasn't us evil white folks that kept you in that way. We freed you from that. And we didn't free you from that for you to turn around now and tell us 200 years later that we owe you something. We don't owe you anything. I think that most Americans, that are aware of what happened at that time of our history, we're ashamed of it, and we should be ashamed of it. But it's the past. We can't bring it back. And the question would be, is it happening today? And the answer to that is no. There is no systemic racism in this country. Are there racists in this country? Yes, there's racists in this country. But they come in all colors, if you catch my drift. They're not just white folks. No, they come in black color too, and they come in Hispanic color, and they come in Asia color, and they come in a lot of colors. Racism is not a matter of the skin color, neighbor. It's a matter of the heart color. But this thing right here is not being targeted to adults. Sesame Street, I don't think there's anybody out there that did not at one time when you grew up watch Ernie and Bert. I watched them when I was a kid. I mean, it wasn't my thing. I mean, Daddy and Mom put us in front of the TV. We'd watch it sometimes. And, the Cookie Monster was my favorite character. He was funny. But Sesame Street is, and as far as our culture goes in America, it's one of the biggest purveyors to our children of what they try to portray to teach our kids. The parents have outsourced the stewardship of their kids to Sesame Street. Now, I'm going to play you a video. This ain't even the worst video. I was going to play the other video, but it was so vile, I just decided I'm not going to do it. I'll describe the video to you. There's a homosexual man, and he did this yesterday. June 1st was Sunday, so it may have been Saturday. It was whatever their last program was, because it was coming up on the June Pride Month. By the way, we don't even give our veterans but one day. We give our dead veterans one day in May. We give our living veterans one day in November. We should make this Veterans Awareness Month, not Pride Month. We need to give our veterans a month. We need to give our first responders a month. Police, firemen, Coast Guard, Navy, Air Force, Marines. We need to give the military, the living military, a month. We don't do any of that. We should give our teachers a month. I believe that the teachers, at least the ones that are left, the few of them that are left that are teaching right, we should give our educators a little nod, because they have your kids more than you do, Mom and Dad. They keep them 8 hours a day. You keep them about 5 at night and on the weekends. That's about all you got with them. Because they're asleep by 11. You actually ain't got 5 hours a night. Most of you ain't got but 3. Lots of them sleep before then. Those teachers have your kids 8 hours a day and sometimes longer during the week. And they are telling your kids stuff just like this, that this is normal. This is normal. I was not aware of this. And it blew me away today when I saw this video. And it's a collection, it's sort of a stitch of things that Sesame Street has been teaching your kids and mine. I'm going to just play the video. I got something to say about it. And then I'm going to show you some quotes and things. And I'm just going to let it play, and then we're going to wrap this up. I'm out of time tonight. I'm going to have to pick these other things up tomorrow night, because there's a breaking story about the Joe Biden thing, and Tommy Robinson put something out. But I want you to listen, if you'll bear with me if I can find it. I just had it. Let me get my glasses on. Here it is right here. This is a collection of Sesame Street episodes going back to the COVID, 2021. That's what they was telling you kids. They wasn't talking to you teenagers. They wasn't talking to you college kids. No, they were talking to your infants. Roll tape.
Elmo, but I have to say it's wonderful to actually see all of you. It also sounds and looks like you and your families have been staying healthy.
Oh, I have a way. I've been staying healthy, Dr. Sanjay. Look. Does Rosita have a boo-boo? Oh, no, this is from my COVID vaccine. My mommy and my papi took me to get it this morning. See, my mommy and my papi said that it will help keep me, my friends, my neighbors, my abuela, all healthy.
Your parents are absolutely right. You know, COVID vaccines are now available for children 5 years and older. And the more people who get them, the better we're going to be able to help stop the spread of COVID.
You got two adults, folks. I'm going to play this on out. It's about another 2 minutes. You got two adults here talking with the Muppets before Jim Henson died. Two adults talking to 3, 4, 5, 2-year-olds about freaking COVID shots and masks. Roll tape.
Daddy, Anna doesn't understand. What's happening? Why are these people together?
Oh, well, they're gathering together to protest. A protest is when people come together to show they are upset and...
Now, wait till you find out what he explains why these people are protesting. This was during the George Floyd year. This was the George Floyd time. And this is what Sesame Street was telling little Johnny and Susie.
Disagree about something. They want to make others aware of the problem. Yeah, I'm bringing this sign to the protest at the community center later.
Oh. They look upset.
People are upset because racism is a huge problem in our country.
Racism, according to Sesame Street, is a huge problem in our country. That's maybe my poll for tomorrow night. Do you believe racism is a huge problem in our country? I do not. Are there racist individuals? Are there racist tailholes that say racist things and do racist things? Oh, you better believe it. But I say it again, folks. It's all colors. You know, I got to say this. If the black community wants to sit down and have a talk about racism, like I hear so many of these voices out there claim they do, that we need to have a discussion about this, we need to have a talk about racism, bring it on. Bring it the blank on. I'll be more than happy to sit down and talk with you, any of you, about this issue, because this is not a white issue. This is a heart issue. This is a demonic issue, just like this Pride Month is a demonic issue. And you see, what infuriates me with this, again, I expect the liberal, this is not surprising that the creators of Sesame Street, who are woke and are in this liberalism, to do this. What ticks me off to the point of losing this hair that I got left is that it is being targeted to children. It is being targeted to toddlers. Roll tape.
On Sesame Street, we all love and respect one another. Across the country, people of color, especially in the black community, are being treated unfairly.
Mind you, not the whites are being treated unfairly. Mind you, not any other. Hey, they don't even mention the Jews. You think somebody's being treated unfairly? You saw the segment tonight, folks, what they're saying and libeling the Jews with tonight, and how the Jews are being treated online, and the Jews are being treated in this country, and the Jews are being treated on college campuses. It's amazing, Ethel. I'm going to have the big one, Ethel. I don't hear one word about the Jews, but those blacks are being mistreated.
Because of how they look.
Because of how they look. But, folks, this is not some AI-generated video. This is actual footage from Sesame Street over the last 4 years.
Their culture, race, and who they are.
I want us to end racism too. I want everybody to be treated fairly.
And we want everybody to be treated fairly, Miss whatever you are. What is that? I don't know what that animal is. Do you not believe that the white community wants to treat people fairly? I'm going to just bring it down a little bit further, folks. If a person is really, truly saved and they're truly born again, there ain't a Christian out here that I know that don't want to treat people fairly. And by the way, while I'm at it, we've got a pretty diverse audience in this MacFile audience. You know, I've been doing this 7.5, 8 years, and I can name on one hand and remember on one hand, and I'm not even sure I can remember even more than two instances where somebody's come in and posted anything racist in this audience, because most of our audience are faith-based people, and we respect people, and we respect them. We don't care what color their skin is. We just expect them to treat us the same way. We treat them with respect. They treat us with respect. We don't see color. We see human beings with hearts. I can tell you right now, Christians don't have racial issues with each other. True ones don't. There is no racism in the true church. Oh, there's a bunch of racist comments in the apostate system.
Welcome back to the ABCs of COVID-19.
Now, this is about the vaccine. The first thing is about the shot. I think this next one's about the mask. Final minute.
And in Sesame Street Town Hall for children and families.
Elmo has a question for Dr. Sanjay. Elmo's seen lots of people wearing masks outside, but it's not Halloween.
You know, just like doctors wear masks in hospitals when they take care of people, you're going to see people now wearing masks outside as well. And the reason they're wearing masks like this is to protect people in public from their germs and things like that. They don't want to spread your germs, and these masks can help with that.
Oh, so the masks help us.
Yes, the masks are a way to prevent you from spreading germs, even as you just breathe. Well, Elmo, how old are you?
Oh, I must be in a half.
Well, then, yes, Elmo, you should wear a mask. Children under 2 years old do not need to wear a mask, but children older than 2 years old should wear a mask.
Children over 2 years old should wear a mask. Again, folks, it's not even what he's saying. We heard that shoved down our throats. He ain't talking to us adults. He's talking to kids. I wonder how many little Johnny and Susies were sitting around their television without mom and daddy listening to this. 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. Roll tape.
When they're out in public and they're around people.
Yep. Now, I've said my piece. This is not a Sesame Street Bash show tonight, but this is that's their logo for tonight. This is their logo for the month. And folks, I have nothing but respect and sympathy, and we have nothing but prayers for those bound by this spirit. We've never judged a soul on this network. We never will. It is a bondage that millions are under, just like it's a bondage that millions are under the spirit of Islam. And we as believers, we need to walk in love and we need to walk in compassion. But we also need to be brave enough to call this crap out and tell these networks, keep your freaking hands off our kids. I don't care what you do as an adult. I pray for your soul. I pray you find Jesus. But if you don't want to find Jesus and you want to keep living the way you live, you do it. Stop bringing our children into your hell. That's my issue with this. It's always been my issue with this. These transgenders that are speaking to kids at libraries, that was allowed, and even church youth groups being brought into the apostate church to have fun, as what one youth pastor called. It was just some fun that we wanted to have with our kids, he said. So they brought transgenders to dance and to give a drag queen show at a youth rally. That's happening, folks, in the good old U.S. of A. That's happening in the good old U.S. of A. I'm tempted to post some of these memes, but they're a little rough. I'm going to pray about it. I may post them tomorrow night. I may not. I don't know. But this is the deception. of these last days. And all I can say again is leave our kids alone. Let me define grooming for you. I will post this one. Grooming is the deliberate act of bringing a child into a sexual, political, or racial ideology, practice, cult, or lifestyle without the knowledge or consent of his or her parents, for the aim of isolating them from their family so the external party can abuse and manipulate them. Well said. Well said. By the way, this one was posted by somebody. I will show this one. This is the slippery slope that we've been on. It started in July of 2015 when the same-sex marriage ordinance was passed by the Supreme Court and they allowed them to marry. Let us get married. And then it was bake our cake. Then it was use our pronouns. Then, I just mentioned this, allow minors to dance for us in drag. And now it's let teachers choose your kid's gender. Ask January Smith Littlejohn about this slippery slope. She lost her daughter. Her daughter got saved recently. Got baptized. So proud to see that. Graduated with honors. They came this close 5 years ago, to losing their daughter forever to this very thing. And others have almost lost it. My issue is not in judgment tonight, folks. Please hear that. Some of you are, some of you are not hearing it. My issue is not in judgment. My issue is the children. It is the children. It is the children. I want you to listen to this video real quick, and then I'm going to call it a night. This is Benny Johnson with a couple. We're going to talk about this more tomorrow night. This is something that may have been going on with the Biden administration. Speaking of the kids with human trafficking, roll the tape. We're going to wrap it up after
all
this.
These missing children? I fear even asking because I think I have an instinct of what, but knowing the people that traffic them. But yes,
we've talked to cartel members in prison in Central America that said that under the last administration, through their policies, that they saw a market that was developed to traffic children into the United States. We've often heard of the 480,000 unaccompanied migrant children that came in under the last administration. 324,000 of those are unaccounted for. Allie and I spoke to HSI, and HSI told us that they checked on the well-being of 100,000 of those 324,000 children that are unaccounted for, of which they located 5,000. That means 95,000 of these children are completely unaccounted for. And we discovered that 70% of the sponsor information that was accepted under the Biden-Harris administration was fraudulent.
You want to know how that happens, Benny? When a sponsor's requirements are so low that it is sufficient enough to send a picture of your identification through an app like WhatsApp with no facial matching or anything like that. We spoke to an HSI or a prior Border Patrol agent, and he said it actually took a lot more verification to adopt a dog from a shelter that was about to be euthanized than it is for a sponsor to take on a child. That's embarrassing.
So, I mean, it would be actually harder because the children don't have to work, right? So you just put them right into a school system. It would actually be harder to locate these children. They can also go by different names, right? And it's going to be like more difficult with a child to locate them. So is this part of what they were doing?
Yep.
Is there a darker purpose?
It was.
Here?
Well, the ORR, the Office of Refugee Resettlement, under Health and Human Services, under the prior administration, refused to share the information with state agencies. My partner here testified at the Senate roundtable, and next to him was DCF Secretary Siobhan Harris, and she had said that she was begging ORR to give her the information of these unaccompanied children, where they are, so they can conduct welfare checks, and they were being stonewalled. They were not allowed as state agencies to check on the welfare and the well-being of these children, so they don't even know if they're going to school. They don't know if they're being abused. They don't know if they're being cared for, and they don't know if they're still in the location that they were originally placed in.
And Benny, if I could share this with you. So the last administration was so incompetent that there was a hotline set up called
2 minutes.
Notice of Concern hotline through Health and Human Services.
If you got a question, start putting it in the chat room.
Children to
questions.
back if they're
Questions.
being trafficked, if they're being neglected, if they're being abused. between August of 2023 to the inauguration, 65,000 calls were received to that hotline that weren't answered. And when the current administration went in and started listening to these calls, some of the children were complaining about stale bread, but some were saying that strange men are touching them, that they're being trafficked. It is so ridiculous that in the last administration, that a caseworker actually went out into the field to where an unaccompanied migrant child was going to be sent, spoke to the sponsor, who was adorned in MS-13 tattoos, who, in addition, there were other members in the household that appeared to be gang members. This Office of Refugee Resettlement case agent went back, told their leadership that we're sending this child to a home that has MS-13 tattoos. That case agent was overridden. That child was sent to that home. 3 months later, that child was found dead with his pants by his ankles and an adult male passed out next to him. That's how bad it was.
So this is some Epstein level stuff. This
is Epstein level stuff that was going on, folks, that we may never get to the bottom of. This is why we're crying out tonight. It's not helping when one of the leading children's programs are sending these messages to our kids. Look, what you heard tonight was mild compared to what I saw today. It was mild. PG-13 compared to what I saw today. And I just decided I ain't going to do it tonight. I couldn't stomach it myself, and I don't think you can stomach it. This couple, Benny Johnson's got a great X account. If you're on X, I would encourage you to follow Benny, and you can listen to the whole interview there on his channel. And they are looking into this. We're going to follow this story and others. I'm out of time tonight. We've gone an hour and a half. Deep stuff tonight. 75% of you have not had anybody tell you that Israel's killing the kids of Gaza, but you know what? 25% of you have. And that's a lot of people. 1 out of every 4 of you have. I predict we're going to take this poll again in about 3 months or 4 months. Probably that number's going to go up. Because you're going to start being told this more and more. You're going to hear this more and more. I probably should have reworded it. Have you heard that Israel is killing the kids? Not necessarily somebody told you this, but have you heard it anywhere from somebody? All righty. Stephen, you've got a great question. Can Congress pass a federal law banning these broadcasters showing this crap to kids? Stephen, it's already on the law. It's already on the books. Grooming a child is a federal crime. I mean, FCC, I think the question would be, why isn't the FCC intervening? And that question is more the question, and your question's a great one. There's already laws in the books about this. Look, I'm on the radio every day, and, I first started when I was a young kid in high school. That's my first job ever. Kids, after when we make a few bucks after school every day, kids pump gas or work at the grocery store. Well, Chris was a disc jockey. I ran my mouth. I was learning my trade tonight long ago. I was learning that during sophomore days at Cairo High School. I was at a country music station in Cairo, Georgia, playing Honky Tonk Saturday. Seriously though, Stephen, there were certain things that if we said on that radio, even in 1981, you say it, your license can be revoked, and they'll pull your station. It's not changed. Now, the FCC has gotten a lot more laxer. I even noticed it on the television that the profanity that is allowed on television would have never been allowed 30 years ago. On these public, like ABC, NBC, CBS, and all these, the language, 30 years ago, you could get sued as a network by the FCC. They could come in and yank you for allowing that kind of language to be said, and anything suggestive, anything sexually provocative, you just couldn't do it. All that's changed. It's all nobody's enforcing the law. I'm sure there are federal statutes that's already on the books. Now, whether they're going to enforce them or not, I don't know. I am not, again, bashing Sesame Street, Bert and Ernie, and the Cookie Monster. But the people behind them know what they're doing. This is not about the LGBTQ community. I want to make it clear tonight. I do not agree with this Pride Month. It is not something we should be celebrating. But again, it is a free country. This is where our country's at. I pray fervently for all involved. There's parents that have homosexual children. There are grandparents that have grandkids, sisters, brothers, mothers, dads. All of us are touched by this indirectly or directly in some way. And I have nothing but compassion for those situations. Nothing but compassion. I have no tolerance, though, for putting this stuff in the face of 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. Zero. That's my issue with it. That's my issue. Who controls the FCC? The government does, Stephen. That's a federal agency. The FCC's federal agency is the feds. And that would probably fall under the executive branch. Trump has been cleaning the FCC out, so there may be some changes. Who knows? But it does need to be addressed. But, you know, we're in a different time. Chris Davis says, have you heard anything about Russia pointing their nuclear weapons toward D.C., London, and other cities? And what are your thoughts? Chris, we didn't get to Russia and the Ukraine tonight. We will deal with that tomorrow night with James Akers. But I have heard, I saw an article in Western Journal late this evening that the Russians and the Ukrainians met today in Istanbul. The meeting didn't last 15 minutes. Ukraine basically knocked out 30% of the Russians' Air Force last night in a surprise attack. The Russians ain't too happy about it. I don't know if Trump's going to fix this or not. I do not know. But I did hear that Russia made the comment, one of their foreign ministers said that a nuclear response is not off the table. Now, whether they've pointed those nuke weapons at Washington and London, I cannot verify that. But I will put it like this. That's something that probably needs to be verified. It probably needs to be verified. Folks, we're in a dangerous world. I told you this tonight as we started. We are in a dangerous, troublesome, prophetic, perilous, dark, demonic time of history. We just are. We are in this time of history. We are just in this time of history. And it's not for the faint at heart. It's not for the faint at heart. It's for people of faith. But I have not heard that to be true, Chris. I have not heard that to be true. But I did hear. The nuclear weapon issue was brought up. It was brought up. All right. Let's see. Well, any further questions tonight? All righty. Listen, we're so grateful to have everybody. Anything in Facebook tonight? Chris, that was a good question, and we will check on that. But honestly, I have not. I don't think that that's actually happening. I would. The Western Journal report was basically saying that one of the foreign ministers hinted that if this kept on, like this thing with Ukraine and Russia kept on, that nuclear weapons would all of a sudden become into the equation, and I hope that's not where we're headed with this. Trump's doing his best, but look, Trump can't. If these two, Zelensky and Putin, want to kill themselves and blow each other up, there ain't ultimately not much the United States can do about it. What we've not done, though, and what we're not going to do with Trump, we're not going to finance Ukraine's war. And that's what we were doing under Biden. I don't trust either Zelensky or Putin past this camera. You're not dealing with two fair players. It just adds to the dangerous world we're in tonight. And President Trump's right in the middle of it. That's why we need to pray for President Trump. That's why we need to pray for President Trump. Did you get something out of this tonight? I hope you did. I know it was some deep stuff and some uncharted territory. Jesse, I disagree. I disagree with your statement that all this debauchery can be laid at the feet of one Barack Obama. He was not the one that started it, Jesse. The devil started it. It's not at the feet of Barack Obama. It ain't. I'm going to say something that I would even, if you're going to lay it at the feet of somebody, which you can't, this country has been on this downward spiral. And Jesse, a lot of this stuff that you see in the public tonight's been going on. It's not been, the difference in 2025 as compared to 1985 and 1975. It was going on. It was just going on under the surface. We didn't see it. It wasn't out there. We didn't have social media in those days. We didn't have the blatant in your face that we do tonight with this. But it's been going on. This country has been under this spell for a long time. Folks, there were people that were in the closet for decades. All these actors that died, and, they died, they come out and you realize that they wasn't, they had same-sex tendencies. And again, this is not a judgment thing. Look, this spirit has been going on. But if you're going to lay it at the foot of a president, look, when Bill Clinton did what he did, and basically, I've talked to Leslie Millway about this. Bill had his problems in Arkansas long before he became president. There were issues in Arkansas that were going on with him. What happened with him and Leslie as far as him trying to do what he did to Leslie happened when he was governor. What he did to Juanita Broderick happened when he was governor. And there's been other scandals in the White House of sex and, things like that. All presidents have had scandals. And I wouldn't be laying at the foot of Obama. Obama was an evil, wicked man, and he still is and needs Jesus. But Obama didn't do this to this country. I'm going to lay it at the foot of the pulpit. When we stopped preaching the truth in love, and there's a way to preach this and there's a way not to preach it. To say that God hates the homosexual is not a way to preach it. To say that all homosexuals are going to burn in hell, that's not a way to preach this. There's a way to speak the truth in love. But the church has done neither. The church has either been that way or they've been totally silent and said, hey, it's okay. And this is a spiritual matter. This ain't a political matter. And I can tell you what, lighting up the White House in rainbow colors, yes, it was insulting to see it. The church has lighted the nation in rainbow colors long before Obama showed up by our lack of conviction about this issue. Just the same as we have a lack of conviction about killing the babies. And the same way that we're losing our conviction about Israel tonight. We have no courage to stand in the face of these anti-Semites and call this out as sin. I don't know, and I challenge every one of you. If you see a post out there by any ministry, I've not seen one. And again, it doesn't mean that don't mean much because Chris don't see a lot of stuff. But if you see a ministry that has come out and condemned that attack last night, it's been 24 hours, and called it anti-Semitic, called it for what it is. It was an attack on Jews, and condemning it in no uncertain terms, and condemning the anti-Semitism behind it. Send it to Mac-Files Forum. I'll get on this show tomorrow night and I'll read it, and I'll give that ministry credit for being brave to do it. It's not Obama, Jesse. He's just a symptom. The source of this is Satan. The source of this is Satan. But that's my opinion, Jess. Anyway, Zella, it started long before 66. Started long before 66. Well, started long before 66. We're trying to this is, you can't put a finger on when it started. You can't do it. And again, Zella, this ain't at you. But people in general, we want to find somebody to blame. And the enemy we blame is ourselves. Because we have allowed, folks, the country is only a mirror of the church. It's only a mirror of the church. And when the church loses its salt and the church loses its voice and the church loses its conviction, the country's going to fall right behind us. And it's late, and I'm past my time tonight. We'll pick this up tomorrow night. If you got something out of this, put some fire in that house. We're grateful that you've been with us tonight. I could say a lot more, but I've gone past my allotted time. I love you much. All these opinions are mine, folks. Please understand that. They're said in love. They're said in conviction. This is how we feel here on the Mac-Files, and, you know, you don't have to agree with it. But this is where we stand. And we hope that you understand that. And I think most of you do. And we'll see you back here tomorrow night. For those that want to come back, we'll probably have James Akers. We're going to talk about Russia and Ukraine tomorrow night. We're going to talk about this terrorist attack more this week. And a breaking story that perhaps is going to be even the worst than the auto pen scandal with Joe Biden, that people were taken off watch lists for money that were known terrorists. And they were being paid. People were being paid in the White House to keep certain names off the terror list. Talk about that tomorrow night. See you on the radio tomorrow at 2 o'clock, K-Star Talk Radio, and then see you in the morning on the Bible study. Boy, we got a lot to talk about in the morning Bible study, that's for sure. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed out there. I'm not going to play any going out music. I'm just going to go ahead and play the outro. Listen, take care. Have a great Monday night. I hope you enjoyed Monday night. Smack with the Mac. See you tomorrow.